Hi, Dr. Joe McGinley with the McGinley Difference podcast. We're here on site at Anaheim 2 today, and I'm here with a really special guest. This is motocross legend, multi-time champ, Hall of Famer. I can go on and on all day with your resume. But Broc, it's great to see you. Great to catch up with you.
Well, it's good to see you. It's been about 3 months and a week.
Yeah, you came out to visit in Casper. People that have been to our office have seen that really nice jersey that you gave us. I mean, that was incredible. I really do appreciate that. But you were out in Casper about 3 months ago. So before we get into the why you came out, tell me about your experience traveling out to Casper, Wyoming. A lot of people don't visit there and they've never been there before. What was your experience like?
I mean, for me, it's easy. I travel pretty much every week, so it's nothing. I actually flew into Denver and just rented a car and drove up, and it was a nice scenic drive, and I don't mind driving places, and so it's easy.
Lots of traffic, correct?
Yeah. Considering I grew up in Southern California, the traffic in Casper on the way to Casper, California, a little difference there.
Yeah. A funny story about when you came out, you told me that, you came in a day or so early. You went to try to visit our local motocross track, Boomtown Track, but the gate was locked. So, you're trying to visit the track. I called the guy who runs the track is a friend of mine. I said, you're not going to believe this, but Broc Glover was out here. He was trying to get on the track. And he was like, man, I can go over there and meet him right now. We can go out there, this and that. But it was a little bit late. And then you had some other interactions, right, with some of the locals at the gas station, I believe, correct?
Yeah, I ran into, after driving up from Denver, I needed to top off my car. I figured I'd do it before we'd had the stem cell treatment. And I ran into some guys that had just come back from riding motocross, and it was pretty neat.
Yeah.
They were, they had no clue who I was, but I certainly knew about motocross, so I was talking to them about their bikes and the riding in the area, and it was a good conversation.
Yeah, I probably couldn't even imagine what they would have thought if they knew who they were speaking to in Casper, Wyoming, but, who's going to expect to run into Broc Glover in Casper? But, okay, let's get into what brought you out to Casper. You weren't coming out just to hang out. I would hang out with you whenever you want, but that's not what brought you out there. Why did you decide to come out to Casper?
Well, I had been having a chronic case of sciatica, just like a nagging, it's like a toothache that just won't go away, but worse. And it was running down my glute, quad, and into my upper calf area and the shin area. And it would just act up, and I'd never know when it was going to do it. I had an episode on an airplane that literally I was just nodding off coming back from a long weekend and back east. And next thing it bit so hard that I was in excruciating pain, could not get my backpack out from the overhead bin, had to have a flight attendant help me, and I was just kind of, this is it, I can't keep doing this, and didn't really have the time, and that was in April, so I really just had to manage all summer long, and I'm a pretty active person, like to do a lot of things. And to have that really kind of ruin my summer and put a dampener on like the whole season until I could get through October at the Motocross of Nations, so I could get a good solid 2 or 3 months to recover. So I dealt with that. I was done with it, kind of a deal. We talked, and you said that using stem cell for those kind of situations where I had a bulging disc pushing on some nerves, and it just, I couldn't be happier at this point.
How long has this been bugging you before you came out for treatment?
Well, off and on for many, many years, but I'd never had a year that it was almost the entire year. I count the days that it wasn't present in some sort of pain, or at the end of a day working here at Dunlop at the races, and then have that just start acting up at the end of the day to where I literally had to get off of my feet, and then sometimes if I was sitting too long, then I had to get up off of sitting and standing, and I was just always having to deal with it, and it just, I didn't want to go through every day like that any longer. That's it.
Yeah, I think I was probably working on you about 3 years to get you out. I mean, if I think back, I partnered with Pro Motocross about 3 years ago now, believe it or not. So I think we met at the combine, at one of the first combines, and we were chatting, and I talked about stem cells with the kids there. And I think at the next race, you may have brought up your back a little bit, but you didn't know me. I mean, you got to build trust. And we chatted for a little bit, and you're like, this is another one of those fads. He'll be gone next year, and then it'll be the next best thing. But, I've been around. I kept chatting with you, and you heard some of the success stories. I've had stem cells myself. So, yeah, that back was bugging you. We treat back issues all the time, and I talked you into coming out to Casper. So once you made that decision, you flew into Denver, drove up to Casper, came over to our clinic. So what was the experience like when you came into the McGinley Clinic?
Well, first and foremost, you just drive in and look at this building. You're like, wait a minute, there's something about this building that's not your typical, not your typical doctor's office, medical clinic. And the fact that I was got to listen to the whole history of that your building in general was just amazing. But I was again, we talked about doing something for a long time there. I had had a couple of epidurals. That was not something I wanted to continually go through. That it was a very much just a band-aid on the situation, and I needed a little bit more further relief. And you and I aligned very much with the thought that surgery was not something I wanted to do, and so that it worked out well.
Yeah, our motto at our clinic is surgery should be the last option. There's a whole bunch of new interventional techniques out there. We believe in a more holistic approach and using your body's own cells for healing. It's what it does. When you cut your skin or break a bone, it heals. So using that same concept, that's what we talked about with stem cells. So with your back issue, we knew there were some structural problems there, and that stem cells would be a great option to address that. So I talked to you about the method and how that is. It's your own stem cells. We're not ordering in anyone else's stem cells or anything like that. We process them right there in the room. So your experience for the procedure, again, you're a little skeptical, a little hesitant coming out, not knowing if this is going to make things better or worse. But when we got you in there, what was the experience like during the procedure? So you're wide awake, first of all, correct?
Yeah, for me, I mean, I wouldn't even hesitate for 2 seconds to do stem cell in a knee or something. I do have a knee that's had a lot of mileage on it. I was always loved to run as part of my training and things, and I may be coming in for something like that. But when you start messing with your back, it can be a serious thing, and I know that. And having done a little research on the stem cell, I live in San Diego. Everybody talks about the clinics all over and south of the border, etc. I just wanted to keep it closer to home, inside of our border, and having talked to you enough about it, I felt confident in it. And then, really, when I made the decision to do it, it just was a matter of time for me. Again, I went to 48 events last year, believe it or not, and to be able to squeeze in, and you were very adamant about the fact that I truly needed to treat that recovery time with the utmost serious approach, and I knew I needed probably about a month of what I would consider bed rest, 2 weeks of bed rest, and then a couple of weeks of very limited activity. To me, might as well be laying on the floor because, again, I'm a pretty active person. So that being said, and then slowly but surely returning to my normal activities with limited lifting for the first month or two. There's no question I didn't want to be out lifting 50-pound barrels or something, but I couldn't be happier. And the stem cell to me really started kicking on in about month 2. And I started noticing that just getting out of bed in the morning, everything just felt a little better.
Yeah, you talked about the outside the U.S. facilities. They do great marketing, that's for sure. We track our results, so we know where our results are. Traveling to a different country is not going to improve much. Just mathematically, it's almost impossible. So we track our cell therapies. They have about a 90% success rate overall. All comers, doesn't matter how bad the back is, we're seeing those type of success rates. So here in the US, it was a little slow getting access to these things because of regulations, but now we can do a lot of the advanced biologics. In addition to stem cells, you've received some of the advanced biologics as well. You had almost immediate partial symptom relief right after the procedure, and you've been improving consistently since that time. So that's the normal expectation. That's what we want to see with the individuals. And when you come in, the procedure, it all happens at the same time. Your cells don't even leave the room. So we take them out, you're awake the whole time. We're talking to you during the procedure. We use a little bit of laughing gas, so we're not going to torture you. So a little laughing gas to make the procedure a little more comfortable. But it takes, what, an hour or so is how long you were in there?
After I took the nitrous oxide 2 or 3 times. I don't remember. Time kind of floats around a little bit there. But yeah, the procedure that I had, I could see that. I don't want to call it the necessity of that, but it makes it much more comfortable. But yeah, I think the whole thing was maybe an hour at the most. We went in the early afternoon, and by 2 or 3 o'clock, I was driving back to the hotel room and laying on the couch watching TV. So it was a very short procedure, no question about it. And I just felt, for me personally, again, I felt so much more comfortable just being with somebody I knew in a clinic. It was inside of our borders. I just, again, born and raised in San Diego. There's plenty of people that go south, and they have, good results. But when the things do go wrong, you have no real recourse and ability to deal with it. So that was not something I was interested in at all.
Yeah, here in the U.S., we still have safety regulations and rules through the FDA. Other countries don't. So they really are fairly unrestricted. So you have to be a little bit careful for that for sure. And if something does go sideways, I mean, who's going to manage it? Places in the U.S. really would be uncomfortable managing a problem that occurred outside the U.S. because they don't actually know what happened. So that could be a challenge as well. So I was glad you made the decision to stay in the U.S. We deal with elite and pro athletes all the time. Again, I had stem cells myself. I treated my wife. I treated a lot of our team members at our clinic. So we know the results and we know how well that goes. Now, one other thing I'm going to take a step back on is that's the bed rest comment. I'm going to throw you under the bus here a little bit. I saw you up on stage giving Chad Reed his Hall of Fame induction award. That didn't look like bed rest to me.
I cleared that with my doctor. I did tell him that if I really wanted to get it done as early as possible. So I did have about almost 2 weeks, and I did have to get on an airplane. And it was very funny when here I am packing every week. I was literally like going, okay, what's the lightest pair of socks and underwear I can take? What's the lightest pair of pants I can take? Because the limit was 5 pounds, and I had to figure out how to look presentable on stage. Luckily, the coat, our Hall of Fame coats stay in the Hall of Fame in Ohio, so I didn't have to take that. So I was weighing everything that I was packing to make sure, but it was worth it. Best case scenario, I wouldn't have had to fly to Ohio and back, but I'm highly involved with the AMA Hall of Fame, and I enjoy that part of it. And it's a true honor to be that and to be able to be the one inducting Chad Reed, another legend in our sport. I wanted to do it. So otherwise I would have had to move my appointment with you back. And then I was like, that's just that much further away from being fully recovered and being back to where I want. Because again, dealing with epidurals and things like that over the past 3 or 4 years, I just was not interested in going down that road any further.
Yeah, we shoot for 90% compliance. So you're right. You did approve all that, and it's not bed rest. We want you, off your feet as much as possible in the first 2 weeks. So, you can still get up and do the normal daily activities. And then typically in weeks 3 and 4, you can go about your normal activities walking around, but just a 5-pound lifting limit. So that's our typical standard protocol on that. Yeah, you did adhere to it pretty well. Just picking on you a little bit because, again, you were on stage. It was a tremendous honor. So absolutely. And we did talk about it ahead of time. So now we're 3 months out for the procedure. We're here at Anaheim. You got a smile on your face walking around. How's it been over the past 3 months?
There were times, let's say month 2, right at that point, once in a while I would make a movement or a step and I could still kind of feel like back telling me who was in charge. But the biggest thing for me, again, is the sciatica. I don't have that constant ache in the glute, ache down the quad. I could stand out there for 2 hours, 3 hours, and it doesn't even bother me. Before I'd stand out there 30 minutes, I was looking at a way to get back, either sit down, and then I would be here for 30 minutes to an hour, and then I got to stand back up. I was always having to adjust something to get off of, to just shift up whatever I was doing. I've had none of that whatsoever. And I want to knock on wood because it's like, I feel like it's too good to be true. So that's where I am right now. And I'm hoping, and you mentioned that between months 3 and months 6, that still improvement happens. So if that's, to me, is just icing on the cake, because if I had it all over to do, if nothing got any better than it was today, I'd be jumping on a plane going right back up there and to visit you again. So good.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Months 3 through 6 typically for the stem cells, but we added in those advanced biologics. So, we've mixed up our formulation a bit, and it's resulting in near instantaneous results in a lot of people. It's still early to say, how that plays out with all injuries, but we've treated numerous people with degenerative disc disease and spine problems with the combination therapy, and it's been very consistent. Early results from the advanced biologic cells take 3 to 6 months because it's a healing repair process. So you're just getting into that time period of where traditionally you would just start seeing results. So I suspect this is going to continue to improve over the next 6 months. Around 6 months is where we'll be at steady state. So we'll check back with you at that point to see where you are. So again, appreciate you coming out. On the one more thing I do want to touch on, you brought a special gift out. People that come out, the pros that come out, we have all sports. I mean, obviously we're involved in motocross and supercross, but we treat athletes in all sports. So when we come out, we have jerseys that we hang up from our patients there. So we have a wall of jerseys, And I asked you if you can bring one out, and you said yes, which was wonderful. But I was surprised which jersey you actually gave me. You want to tell the fans which one that was?
Well, it was one of the jerseys I had. It was a number one jersey. For me, trying to get jerseys any long, it's been so long since I raced. It's not easy, and I know you're going to treat another top rider who is a champion in our sport, and he's struggling to find some jerseys too. So those of us who raced back in the 70s and 80s, and I retired right at the year 1990, but it's not easy finding those jerseys. So I rode my whole career on Yamaha. Sometimes I look on eBay, I look on places to find them, and if anybody comes up to me and has one, I do what I can to get them back at this point. So it's just always, again, I enjoy looking at your clinic in general. You had some pretty amazing soccer jerseys, and with the World Cup coming to town too, that's pretty impressive. You got a lot of athletes that come and see you, and it's nice to. And yourself, you are an athlete yourself. Besides having a motorcycle racing background, you do a lot of other athletic endeavors, including mountaineering and things. So I'm very impressed, and I enjoyed being able to visit with you about that, because that's an impressive accomplishment on your own.
Yeah, I think we're building a museum at this point of these jerseys. I mean, we have some pretty cool ones there, but yours is front and center for sure. And, we have local athletes that come in, even national athletes, and they see that jersey, they're taking a photo of it. So, yeah, if you didn't catch that, it's his number one jersey from racing. It's an actual race-worn jersey. Broc Glover #1. That's pretty rare and very special.
Complete with a stain or two on it, I think, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah,
that's what makes it real. And yeah, we have a couple other champion jerseys. You talked about a World Cup soccer jersey we already have from this year. That was one of the Team Cup jerseys. We just got an IndyCar driving suit framed. I haven't seen it yet. One of my assistants texted me a picture, so that's pretty cool. And then the other pretty cool thing we have Jake Gagne's riding suit from his last championship here. So he's a super nice guy, and he's like, well, I don't have a jersey, but I can send you a riding suit. I'm like, we'll make it work. And yeah, that was pretty cool to see as well. So Broc, again, I do appreciate everything you're doing here for the sport and the team. You're one of the sponsors for the privateer support program. You support a lot of riders, if not all of them, here in the pits. And without you, without Dunlop, really a lot of these guys wouldn't be out there, and they appreciate everything you do. So Broc, thank you for everything you've done as a racer and champion, and what you continue to do, giving back to the sport. Glad we were able to get you going here and get that smile back on your face and keeping you active.
Well, thank you very much. And again, thank you for what you've done. And again, our relationship has been going on for, I think it's our 4th year at it. And it was nice to be able to talk to you and really get a pure medical evaluation, and also just the history and the knowledge of what the sport is out here. I've obviously, in spending as many years as I have racing, I have worked with a lot of doctors and orthopedic surgeons, etc. And there's been good ones and bad ones, no question about it, or ones that I would recommend highly over another. And I appreciate your knowledge and expertise. And again, I didn't mean to be very, very slow to make the decision, but I've seen both sides of that coin, and I'm real happy with our relationship and being able to come and visit your clinic. And I'm even happier with the fact that I'm pain-free.
Appreciate all those kind words. I'm Dr. Joe McGinley with the McGinley Difference. I want to thank Broc Glover, racing legend, for being on the show with us. If you want further information, go to the McGinleyClinic.com. Follow us on social media on Instagram and Facebook. We'll continue to update you and update the riders.